All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're looking at a huge shift in how we think about the human body. We're moving beyond the idea that life is just a bunch of chemical reactions and diving into the physics of it all. The idea that, at our core, we are fundamentally electrical beings.
You know, for centuries, we've seen biology through a chemical lens, right? The body is this incredibly complex bag of reactions, and DNA is the master instruction book. And of course, chemistry is critical. But what if it's not the whole story? What if there's an electrical blueprint, a field of information that's actually directing all those chemicals, telling them what to become, where to go, and how to build a complex living thing?
Okay, so let's break this down. On one hand, you have the standard chemical view. It sees DNA as a parts list. It gives you the code for all the proteins, the raw materials. But then, on the other hand, you have this emerging bioelectric view. This idea suggests that DNA provides the parts, but a bioelectric field, what some call a morphogenetic field, provides the architectural plan. It's this grid of electrical gradients that tells a cell, hey, you're a liver cell, and you go here. So think of it like this. DNA gives you the bricks, the mortar, the lumber, but the bioelectric field is the blueprint that actually shows how all those parts come together to build a house.
Now, to really get this, we have to go back in time. And I mean way, way back, to the very beginning of life itself. Because if this electrical communication system is so fundamental to who we are, we should be able to see its ancient origins in the simplest forms of life on this planet.
And check this out. This discovery from just this year, 2024, totally flipped our understanding of some of the oldest life forms around. For the longest time, we thought these tiny cyanobacteria were just rugged individualists floating around solo. But it turns out, that's not the case at all. They are actively building these tiny physical bridges, these nanotubes, to connect with each other, forming a massive network to share information and resources.
And this isn't some random accident. The science shows these are active, energy-dependent connections. These bacteria are literally spending precious energy to build these tunnels. Why? Because it allows them to share everything: cytoplasm, nutrients, signals. It essentially transforms a whole group of individual cells into one single shared superorganism, a syncytium. It's basically life's primordial internet, built for survival in the tough environment of the ancient oceans.
The point here is just, wow, it's profound. What this reveals is a fundamental law of biology that's been running for 3.5 billion years. The default state for survival has never been isolation. It's networks connection. This is the ancient blueprint for the internet of cells that's operating inside our own bodies right now.
So what happens when you take this ancient, electrically tuned system and drop it smack into the 21st century? Well, it runs into a brand new kind of threat. An invisible environmental stressor that doesn't poison our chemistry, but instead jams the frequency of our internal internet. We're talking about man-made electromagnetic fields.
Now, the key technical difference here, the thing you have to understand, is polarization. Natural EMF from, say, the sun is unpolarized. The electric fields are oscillating randomly in all directions. Think of it like a huge crowd trying to push a car, but everyone is pushing from a different direction. The forces all cancel out, and the car barely moves. But man-made EMFs are polarized. The electric field oscillates in one single predictable direction. This creates a coherent, additive force. It's like a team of soldiers all pushing the car together, in perfect unison. Even if the total energy is less than the sun's, that synchronized push exerts a real, cumulative force on the tiny charged particles inside our cells.
And to our biology, this coherent force isn't useful information. It's what the source material calls entropic waste. It's just noise. A persistent jamming signal that our cells have to constantly fight. They have to burn metabolic energy, ATP, just to counteract this external push and hold their own internal structure together. This constant battle increases the thermodynamic load on the cell, pulling resources away from crucial jobs like repair and regeneration. Okay, so how exactly does this external noise actually cause problems inside us? Well, the sources lay out a very precise biophysical mechanism. It's a chain reaction, a cascade of events that starts right at the membrane of every single one of your cells. This is the sequence right here. First, that polarized external force literally vibrates the tiny voltage sensors on our cells' ion channels, tricking them into opening when they shouldn't. It's a false alarm. Second, this false alarm causes a flood of calcium to rush into the cell, which is a universal danger signal. Third, the cell freaks out, and as a defense mechanism to protect its neighbors from the stress, it shuts down its gap junctions, its communication ports. Fourth, the cell is now electrically isolated. It's deaf to the rest of the body. And fifth, this is the crucial part. Cut off from the body's bioelectric blueprint, the cell gets a kind of amnesia. It forgets it's a piece of a larger organism, it forgets its job, and it reverts back to its ancient primitive programming. Just survive, divide, and spread.
So, we've defined the problem. It's a communication breakdown caused by environmental noise. The solution then is actually incredibly logical. It's not about adding another drug or another signal to the mix. It's about taking something away. It's about creating a quiet space where the body's own native signals can finally be heard again.
And the technology to create this quiet space is, amazingly, not new at all. It's the Faraday cage, invented way back in 1836. It's simply an enclosure made of a conductive material, like a fine mesh. When an external electromagnetic wave hits it, the charge spreads out around the exterior of the cage, which completely cancels out the field's effect on the inside. It creates an electromagnetically quiet zone.
But here's a really important technical point. This isn't about blocking everything. A properly designed shield is brilliant at blocking those high-frequency, dynamic fields, the man-made entropic waste. But it remains permeable to static or very slowly changing fields, like the Earth's own geomagnetic field. And that's the field our bodies have evolved with for eons, the one we use for things like our circadian rhythms. So it's not a sensory deprivation chamber. It's more like a selective filter. It weeds out the artificial noise while preserving the natural biological signal we need.
And this table just sums up the whole before and after effect perfectly. In our standard high-noise world, ion channels are getting false triggers, the gap junctions slam shut, and our cells enter that isolated, amnesic state. But when you're inside an electromagnetically quiet environment, that external jamming signal vanishes. The ion channels go back to their normal, physiological function. The stress signals inside the cell die down, and the gap junctions are allowed to reopen. And just like that, communication is restored. The cells become cognizant again, rejoining the collective intelligence of the body's bioelectric network.
So we're left with this final thought. For 3.5 billion years, life has figured out that the key to resilience is connection. Today, our modern environment is filled with a completely unique kind of noise that forces our cells into isolation. And it suggests that maybe, just maybe, one of the most powerful things we can do to let the body heal itself is to simply remove the interference, to create that quiet room, and let that ancient internal conversation begin again.